So it finally happened, guys. Malcolm in the Middle reboot came and went, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. Seemed like they had some legs standing in the last episode, kind of to where there actually might be more coming if this does well. And I know it's been an absolute smash hit on Disney. I saw that it's been the most watched show on Disney this year. Not entirely sure how accurate that is, but everyone who watched that show when they were growing up, and if you've seen just a couple of the memes around Malcolm in the Middle, probably gave you pretty good reason to sit down and watch this. Not sure if there's anything coming after this, but the fact that we got these 4 episodes, really happy, and we're gonna hop into them right now. So just really felt like each of the actors hopped right back into those roles, like it was just yesterday when season 7 ended. Obviously, Malcolm is not the president of the United States in this show. Didn't figure he would be, of course. Yeah, it would take a pretty massive budget, even though Disney could probably afford it. Finn Wolfhard made a cameo in here. I found that pretty interesting. I saw that he basically did it for free because he loved the show. And I think I read that he was visiting the set just kind of as a fan. Thought that was pretty interesting to see him. He kind of makes his little scream at the end when everything goes super well. Thought he did cool. Obviously, we have some new characters with Malcolm's daughter. I'm forgetting her name now. I'll probably think of it later. His girlfriend, Tristan. Wasn't huge on Tristan. I thought she was just kind of there. She was just Malcolm's girlfriend. The only real piece of character you got for her was like she had this past murder and they call her Titty Titty Bang Bang. That was pretty funny, but it was mostly because of Malcolm's delivery. There's not much about her as a character, and I get it. I mean, there were only 4 episodes to flesh out all of these characters that we used to love. I mean, why would you give much on the script to this just new character, Malcolm's girlfriend, that if there is more of this show to come, which, God, I hope there is, I'm sure we'll get a lot more of her and Malcolm's daughter, of course, also. Malcolm's daughter does great. Really enjoyed the plot line with that kid. She has a crush on him. He turns out to be a total creep. I just love her reaction. She's like, ew. And he just says, boobs. She's like, this question mark? And he's like, come on, it's no biggie. And, just like Malcolm back in the day, she kind of sits around and thinks, and she talks to the camera kind of like I'm talking to you right now. She breaks the fourth wall in the same sense that Malcolm did. And you can really just tell that they're going to pull the trigger on a new show. I'm not entirely sure who would be in the cast, and I really hope they do, because I feel like I can't remember her name for the life of me. I feel like an idiot. Malcolm's daughter does a pretty darn good job as just kind of bringing that kid plot into it, and I feel like they could have that happen enough into a new show to where it feels like it has some new blood and not just us, kind of hopping back into the old unknown last name family. We still don't know the last name of these guys, and I would pretty much prefer it that way. We all know in the last episode when the graduation is going on and the principal starts talking, the mic blurts out when he goes to say Malcolm's last name. Never learned anything about that. I was really happy to see Craig. Craig is one of my favorite characters in sitcom history. I will say that him and pretty much the rest of the cast were somewhat of a watered down version of themselves, but I think that was mostly because a lot of casual viewers were coming on and just diving into this, and they'd probably only seen a couple episodes. A lot of them probably didn't even know who Craig was. So I felt that, I was happy to hear what happened with the Lucky Aide, that he didn't get the promotion that he felt he deserved, and he probably did. The guy loved that job. And that Untraceable Fire, not sure what happened there. Now he's working at the big supermarket. They had a name for it. It wasn't like an actual name or anything. It was like Big Lot. Well, that's a place, but it was some giant fucking store, and they made up a name for it. Working there, thought that was great. I loved seeing the Harmonaholics return. I think it was all original. There might have been one recasting in there. I need to look that up. And they did great. I really loved that Locked Out of Heaven rendition. Did not expect that. I figured, you'd see them. They might be doing a little performance here or there. Probably could have guessed that it would be kind of a show just for Lois. But man, they killed that. I've had that stuck in my head ever since I watched that. Me and my brother were watching that, and I was like, holy shit, this is fire. I'm not a musical guy. I love Scream, and like in Scream 2, it always kind of takes me out of it when Sydney's boyfriend just hops up, Derek, just starts dancing on the fucking table and singing, I think I love you. You know, I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of out of this. But man, that fit really well. I don't know if that was Bryan Cranston doing the lead vocals on that, but did a killer job. Did an absolutely killer job. It was insane seeing him go on that ego death trip. You see Richie giving out the psychedelics, and you know, Abe, I thought Abe absolutely killed it. His video in, you know, at the anniversary towards, I know I'm all over the place here. I just have a lot of thoughts about this, guys, because it's so awesome that it's here. But anyway, Abe really did well in this. I thought he knew exactly, he knew what needed to be done to fulfill this role. He's lost a ton of weight. You see Kitty come back, and they still have that like snarky, like, but yet they still love each other vibe to them. Stevie, of course, he doesn't. No, I'll spare you that. They hit us with a few of those jokes. Enjoy how his husband kind of, makes those jabs at him the same way Malcolm kind of used to. It's just like jokeably about him being in a wheelchair, like, I'm needy, but you're in a wheelchair. And of course, when Tristan says no to Malcolm's proposal towards the end of the show, towards the end of this special premiere or whatever you want to call it, and he just flips over, and that's their old thing, like just like in episode 1, the very first episode, when he flips over to make that bully look bad back, what was that, 2001? I don't even remember when the show came out, man, but God, it took me back. And he's like, that doesn't work for everything, Stevie. Really enjoyed that. Could have used a couple more callbacks, maybe. I was surprised we didn't hear anything maybe about like his babysitter. I heard something about like maybe them mentioning her in the background, or also Cynthia. I know a lot of us Malcolm heads love Cynthia. It seems like she was in more episodes than she really was, but I felt like she had a lot to do with like Malcolm's like maturing as a character. At least it felt that way when I was a kid. I always just thought like episodes with her felt more important at times. I don't know why. Felt like his real love interest throughout the show, if there ever was one. I know there were some oddball chicks in the show that he would be with, kind of just for funny situations. But to have Tristan as his girlfriend now, and of course Dreamer, his mother's daughter, left 3 days after the conception after he banged her at a keg party. That was hilarious. She looked hilarious, and thought that was pretty fitting. And just, I really, like I said, mentioned before, I hope Tristan gets shelled out more as a character, and we don't just kind of have to think about her as just this zany chick that Malcolm likes. And, well, he said he loves her the same way that, Hal and Lois do, which is maybe kind of a stretch, probably, if you ask me, especially considering they're just learning these weird things about each other. So I don't know exactly, but I just truly feel that it was a pretty awesome step back into these characters. Francis probably could have used a little bit more of a storyline, but he is having a child with Piama, which is awesome. We kind of just go back into his classic storyline of, his traditional, like, trying to get Lois, just kind of get her attention, basically, as if he's still 10 years old. And, Piama's like, why are you so worried about this? And he hits us with the thing that we've always known about him, that he has always been Lois's pain in the neck. And when he's not number one on that list that they keep going on about, he kind of freaks out, whether he means to or not. Gives her that $1,000. She throws it on that speaker system. She's so excited about this anniversary party. And it went really well. The glitter falling on Hal was fucking hilarious. I love. You see France up there just trying to tangle with that fucking zipper, tears it down. That was hilarious. And you see Hal just covered in all that glitter. He's like, "Do you like it?" God, that cracked me up big time, and totally fucked up the entire event. But you can tell that they all. It was such a Malcolm in the Middle ending, and I really enjoyed that. Thought nothing ever goes right for these guys, but Lois pretty much knew that when she kind of threw in, like, it was, who cares about the security deposit? We had our anniversary the way that our family always would. After they've kind of all just made well with each other. Malcolm gets up there, has that proposal to Tristan, and says what he needs to say to his father after he's been kind of dismissive of the whole situation until the end. And he has that really shitty part in that video. You can just tell that he truly feels bad about all the time he's wasted and all the lies he's thrown out there to just make it feel like his family isn't up to par to him. Kind of like Piyama mentions earlier to his daughter, like, have you ever been kind? And she's like, I'm kind all the time. And she's like, no. Yeah, be empathetic. Put yourself in their shoes and think about what's going on in their life. And and that's very true. Malcolm, and apparently her also, are very almost egotistical to the point where they think everything that they're going through is exclusive to them and no one can relate to them in a million years. And I think a lot of us could probably relate to that. So it leads to a little bit of reclusivity. So I found a little bit of relatability to Malcolm and his daughter in that. The writing in the show felt, like I said, a little bit watered down, a little bit drawn back. But it felt just like the writers of the show knew exactly what they were trying to set up. I know a lot of people, I know Frankie Muniz said this is only a 4-episode event thing, but I just feel like this is kind of just stepping in to see the temperature on the gauge to the enjoyment of the show, and I think people really liked it. I know very few people are calling it woke, which is foolishness. I mean, you didn't watch this show back in the day if you feel that way. Non-binary sibling now. Thought they handled that in a really loving manner with Hal. Kind of, they mentioned, when she was 5 years old, or her name's Kelly. I think she identifies as a male now. And he just, obviously he's Hal. He just said you could love your mother more when she asked if she was wrong. I just thought moments like, especially just showing the appreciation to Hal, and I'm sure the directors probably felt a little bit like, yeah, Hal's probably the reason Bryan Cranston, my opinion, the greatest actor of all time. You can just think about it for a second and be like, yeah, he's probably the reason that this entire thing happened. Because he's been going on about a reunion for years now. And I thought it was like kind of a pipe dream. But I always even thought myself, I was like, if Bryan Cranston wants it, there's no other guy or girl or any person on this planet, even the creator of Malcolm in the Middle, Linwood Boomer, there's no way that they're going to be able to get this on TV without a name like Bryan motherfucking Cranston to be out there campaigning for it the way he did. And I'm just so appreciative that it actually happened. We got to see these characters come back. I didn't even mention Reese. Thought it was pretty awesome with Reese. It kind of threw me off in that first episode. I thought he had, just almost grown to be like more of a supportive homebody that still doesn't work, but he really loves his family, right? No. He's making all those ridiculous videos of him and Hal fixing the same shit over and over and over again and smacking his face with that tile after he's trying to sneeze. Hilarious. And Reese really stepped right back into that role. Thought they maybe could have used a little more music in the show. Now that sounds weird, but a lot of Malcolm in the Middle, Disney's bad about not wanting to spend money on things that feel almost necessary at times, and then they'll spend money on stupid shit. So, they really should have had the original intro song, Life is Unfair. What the fuck was that? No, yeah, mine was probably better than the one that I had to watch just a few minutes ago. Shit pissed me off. Should have had the original song. Probably could have used a Sum 41 hit in there. Just a couple things like that. This is the Malcolm in the Middle, the original, is like the epitome of a 2000s show to me. So I just felt like could have used a tad more of that vibe, but it's 2026 now. I'm aware that it's not 2000s anymore, and so are the creators of the show. Dewey, obviously that's not the real Dewey. I'm not sure the actor's name now. He's a piano player, and he's got all these girls on his arm. Pretty awesome. I felt like that was a pretty easy way to write Dewey, and he's away the whole time. He's on the computer. It seemed almost fitting that he's not here. Dewey's not on the show, so neither was he. He wasn't there. It's Dewey. It's not really Dewey, but thought the guy did a pretty damn good job, and there wasn't much that they wrote there for him to add to the layers of Dewey's character. He was kind of just there for the situations at hand. We just learned more about him, obviously. And I was happy with that. I really wish we could get the original actor back for just an interview or anything. But I'm aware that I'm not... what is his name? The original Dewey actor. He is a extremely smart fellow. I'm pretty sure he's at Harvard doing his own thing. And happy for him. Heard he turned down boatloads of money for this, and that takes a lot of pride. And wow, happy for the Dew Master. I haven't seen that kid in something since like Christmas with the Cranks, so he must be doing pretty damn well for himself. If he has no need to hop in on one of the biggest productions of 2026. Jamie, like I said, I have a ton to say about this, guys. Jamie being back in the show was pretty cool. I know, like, he was never, like, really old enough to have much to his character back in the day. Also, I don't know. I couldn't tell you if that's the same actor that played young Jamie. That would be pretty interesting. Whether it is or it isn't, though, the fact that he's in the military, kind of doing his own thing. He mentioned that he was always breaking shit, like the sound of a crash was cool to him. Thought that was kind of interesting. Could have used maybe a flashback here or there, but, it's whatever. And, I thought he did pretty good. He snuck off the base for that anniversary. Definitely going to get in some trouble. Kind of gives you that Francis vibe. Thought it was pretty sweet seeing Francis's old buddies. They hit him with that tin hut, and he gets straight up, and they saw the fucking head off of a statue up in front of a church, and I assume it was a Jesus statue. That he's like, it's Burger King guy. Fucking hilarious. Love Eric. I forget the other two dudes' names, but man, that was awesome. You get to hear about Spangler, rest in peace, and Otto, rest in peace, and Otto's Gretchen, almost forgot her name. You see her for a moment. That was cool, and she's able to tell Piama has a calf in her, as she says, and she can even tell the gender of the baby. It was so nice coming back to this show, guys. Almost emotional for me. This is my favorite sitcom of all time, and I have a ton to say about it. Really, really hope they continue to make more. I just feel like there's a lot of meat on that bone. I don't know how much it would cost to keep Bryan Cranston and Frankie Muniz in this thing. I know Chris Masterson isn't really, like, he's not a big actor anymore, but he's, like, we all know who he is from Scary Movie and Malcolm in the Middle. So, not sure how much it would cost Disney, but, they're not losing any money either way. Really hope they do something more with this. And I'd like to see what you guys think about this. If I was going to give the 4 episodes a rating out of 10, I'm going to go with an 8 out of 10, guys. Felt there could have been just a tad more detail to the returns of each character, what they had been doing, what they had been up to, how they had been doing it. And that's honestly about it. And maybe just like, another small complaint, like when Lois and Malcolm are having that heart-to-heart in the bathroom, I just thought Craig, like, I love Craig, but he didn't need to be in there taking that massive shit. Like, that was probably the biggest heart-to-heart in this entire thing, other than maybe with Hal and his evil self. I meant to get more into that. The stuff like when Hal was talking to his self and, it turned into it's evil Hal. Thought that was pretty awesome. Really liked how it kind of turned into something almost like The Shining. He's like, you want me to kill them? And he kind of realizes what's going on. Fucking loves how he eats all of those capsules, becomes totally fucked up. Like I said, it was awesome seeing Richie again. He was hilarious back in the day. Yeah, just little things like when Hal's, like, little version of himself goes all weird CGI. I don't even know what you call that. Special effects. Could have went without that. Maybe, like, just something else could have happened. I thought the entire rest of that scene was totally kick-ass. You see, like, a really young Hal, like almost like a toddler Hal, talking about like how the house would shake with his father's fear and just things that he hasn't done yet and wishes he could do. And it really bled into his life. Totally worked for me. I thought that shelled out the character of Hal even more than we had with the original phenomenal 7 seasons of Malcolm in the Middle. There isn't a bad show, or isn't a bad season of this show. Loved everything with Hal. Loved everything with everybody, honestly. Wasn't much I had to bitch about, if I'm being completely truthful with you. I am a stan of this show. Like I said, hope that we get to see more, and I hope you guys have a good day. Take it easy.